Chapter 15, clearing away the religious fog. I actually enjoy it when my wife gets angry. Not at me, of course, though even then sometimes it does make me laugh. Stacy has such a good heart and such a gracious spirit that when she finally does get riled up about something, the moment feels very apropos. Like when she runs the neighborhood bully off from a group of small children. Finally, go get him, girl! It reveals another side of her, a fiery side, and her personality becomes richer, not diminished. The way a person gets angry and what they get angry about is a real clue to their inner world. Wouldn't it get your attention if one of those YouTube videos that goes viral was a clip of Mother Teresa ranting and raging and breaking stuff? Right? You'd watch it. I guarantee it. Right? Because it's so out of character. You would be fascinated by it because her anger seems so other. So what about Jesus? What really fries this humble, gracious, patient man? Well, there's actually only a handful of accounts of Jesus getting good and mad in the Gospels, which is surprising given how much provocation he was provided. In fact, the Greek word for angry is only used once to describe Jesus. And where does he happen to be at that moment? At another time, he went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, "Stand up in front of everyone." And then Jesus asked them, "Which is lawful on the Sabbath? To do good or to do evil? To save life or to kill?" But they remained silent. He looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts. He said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was completely restored. Do you understand why the vast, beautiful heart of Jesus rises in anger toward these clerical bullies? This is the same ferocity we see in the temple. Do you understand the personality of God now? And the horrible nature of religious falsehood. Maybe it's more revealing to ask, do you share his anger at this stuff? This is what infuriates Jesus, so it ought to be what infuriates us. Or have we made a cordial détente? As I said earlier, if you simply read the Gospels without bias, you cannot come to any other conclusion than that religion is the enemy or in the hands of the enemy. Every hostile encounter Jesus has is with very churchy people. This spirit is the great enemy of our life with God. And it is this spirit that Jesus warns his boys about when they were whispering in the boat about bread. Okay, be careful. Jesus said to them, be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And then he says it again to make sure they're paying attention. Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. If you would know Jesus, if you would love him, if you would experience him, you must pay very careful attention to this warning. And friends, you don't heed this by simply making the Pharisees the bad boys of the Bible, okay? Like the villains in a melodrama. It's not what Jesus meant. The religious fog uses sanctified words and activities, things that look and sound very Sunday school, to distort our perceptions of God and our experience of him. It's cunning as a snake and as adaptive as the flu, infiltrating our practices to make them ever so false. My mom went to Catholic school. It made her walk away from church and from God. The fruit of that seems pretty clear. A friend went to seminary, gained a theological degree, and lost his faith. How sick is that? A good friend of mine was subjected to rigorous Bible classes as a child. She now hates the Bible. You shall know them by their fruit. I'm not on a tirade. I want to get on to how we can better love Jesus and experience him. And yet to pass this over would be an injustice to you, because this is the source of most of the debris keeping people from Jesus. If you want to know him as he really is, experience him just as intimately as the disciples did, you are going to have to clear out the religious fog. So, let's just start with this point of clarity. There is Christianity, and then there is Christian culture. They are not the same, okay? People develop a taste for organ music or fog machines in the same way they develop a taste for public radio or NASCAR. And then they insist that organ music or fog machines are the right way to know Jesus. And from here, it just gets weird. Big hair, reverent tones, shouting, robes, funny hats, smells and bells, tambourines, Broadway-style services managed down to the second. Loving the culture of church is not anywhere close to the same thing as loving Jesus, okay? The Pharisees loved their religious culture. They loved the long prayers, right? The solemn garments, the honor bestowed on them because they were members of the clergy, but they hated Jesus. Okay, so it would take 36 volumes for me to provide an exhaustive list of, religious nonsense, but let me give you a few categories. When the religious is operating, false reverence replaces loving Jesus. Okay, that's one. In fact, loving Jesus is considered optional. I know, it's too hard to believe, but it's really quite common. It's as if we think you can be a Christian, but being in love with God is optional, sort of like extra credit. Knowing about God substitutes for knowing God. Therefore, teaching is exalted. Good content is what matters. Members can explain to you theories of the atonement or the 7 steps to a good and successful life, but they cannot name one intimate encounter they've had with Jesus. Not once in their life have they heard him speak to them. A great deal of what is adamantly taught about Jesus is frankly taught by people who don't know him very well. When religious is operating, religious activity is confused with commitment to Christ. All right? So church activities are considered more important than other types of activities. Those who do not engage regularly in religious gatherings are suspect. And leaders get very defensive about church. But to suggest this is to incur something along the lines of malice. Christian service substitutes for friendship with Jesus. Particularly popular in our age of social justice. We take our best and brightest saints and ship them off for indentured servitude. Exhausted Christians working for noble causes, but they don't report a daily encounter with Jesus. Who is held up as models for serious Christian commitment in your world? Is it, here is Jeff, he really knows Jesus? Or, here is Jeff, he serves the poor in India? When the religious is operating, a trivial morality prevails. I once attended a church where the word hell was not allowed to be spoken, although it is often spoken in the Bible. Instead, we were to say H-E double toothpicks or double hockey sticks, which makes holiness downright silly. Okay, so here's the question to ask. What would it take for a person to get fired from your church or Christian school or ministry, college institution? Right? Are the things on their list the things you see Jesus upset about? And finally, the system operates on the fear of man. What good people might say rules this world. Members toe the line, not because they're captured by God, but because they're afraid of what people will say if they don't. If you are part of this system, ask yourself, do people here act like Jesus? Meaning, would they confront a Pharisee as a son of hell? Would they break the Sabbath to heal someone? Would they give a wedding 900 bottles of wine? And if not, why not? Okay, some of my listeners are going to get their shorts in a bunch over this. Let me be clear. This is not an anti-church statement. I am not anti-church. I go to church. The simple test is this: do you encounter Jesus there? Or in any of the Christian things you do? Does it draw you into a genuine understanding and experience of Jesus as we find him in the Gospels? If not, there's a problem. Friends, if you would know Jesus as he is, if you would let him simply be himself with you, then run. Run as fast as your two little feet will carry you from anything that smacks of the religious.